Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip Committee meeting. Today is Monday, July 15th, 2024, and we're going to call this meeting order at 7:30 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin? Here. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navas Garza is absent. Trustee Peretta?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll get right to our business here. First on your agendas this evening was a request to approve the service fee for a 6B tax assessment renewal for the property located at 4251 West 129th Street in Alsip. Did we have the, Mr. Ferrari? Please, come on up, sir. If you'll speak to this, you're asking for a 6B renewal for the property? Oh.
We are, thank you.
Okay.
For renewal of the Class 6B extension, this is the final year where we can ask for this extension. I'm not sure if you can hear me. And we put together a packet, happy to answer any questions. I think you're familiar with exactly what it is. Thank you for your cooperation in putting it together so far. I brought someone, a representative of the property with me if you have any questions.
Sure. If you can give us a quick overview, what your just up to everybody, what your business is and so forth, then too.
Sure. Well, my name is Juan Valerio. I am the CFO for Mi Cocinita, which is housed at 4251 West 129. Appreciate you all for having me out here. Cocinita's been around since 1995. Distribute dry peppers, spices, candies. Currently servicing about 25 states. Our main hub is here in Alsip. We manufacture everything out of Alsip, distribute out to our 7 other warehouses. Currently housing 122 full-time employees.
Wow. I'm very familiar. I see your trucks all over, and just so everyone's familiar too, your business is directly east of where the also Swaparama is at 129th, and I think it's Keeler Street, right? Right. Certainly, we appreciate you having your business in town. I know about a year or so ago you put up a new building too out there too at the same time.
Thankfully, growing at a pace where we're hoping to need a new addition, another addition, probably the next 3 years.
Okay. So, how much square footage do you have out there? I don't.
We're probably.
I gotta pull all
We're
this up.
probably about between 80 and 100 at the moment.
1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just got this up on my screen here just now. So. Trustees, did you have any questions for the gentleman regarding Mi Costanina? I'm sorry, I said it wrong. You said it real quick though too. You know, so. How is business for you folks anyway?
Thankfully, growing.
Good. Good to hear. We had another candy company distributor in here just 2 weeks ago. Same scenario yet too, which fortunately, and they were getting more into like packaging now and things like that yet too. So you're always trying to differentiate your business and try and something a little bit new. Certainly, I know it's not popular, but it is necessary with the service fees. So I thank you for. You've been working on Mr. Frois with our attorney, Vince Caker, on that? Okay. And I vote in the event of a tie. Certainly this is a board decision if they wish to renew the tax assessment on this particular property. You've had this for 11 years now?
Yes.
Okay. So you're in your final year of that assessment?
This is the 12th final year.
Okay.
In 2 years.
Okay.
Mayor, how long would the extension go?
12 years.
12 more years.
Right.
And sir, if you were to add on to your business, would that involve bringing on any new staff?
Correct. That's the anticipation. Right now, we're still in hiring mode. Certainly, with the addition, let's call it another 12,000 square feet. Additional warehouse space, additional people, additional drivers.
Okay.
I was going to say, how many trucks do you have that go out every day?
Currently, out of here, we're at 15 trucks.
Okay.
not including the vans.
Okay. I don't know, there's not much, I mean, obviously, the packet you submitted, without us reading the whole thing, I obviously spoke to a lot of detail of what you're going to do here. And then we've got a list of ownership and so forth involved, the schedule for the service fee, and certainly, board, unless you have any other questions, we can put this on the agenda for consideration. Clerk, when do we meet next week?
Yes, next.
Just to be sure, next Monday night, we can put that in for consideration then, okay?
Okay.
Right.
Is there any questions we can answer now?
That's what I'm saying, I didn't seem like it, trustees.
Thank you.
We can
Yeah.
come back for that, or again, consent?
Yeah, if you, well, I've got the one that you sent me, we actually have a digital copy of it up here.
Okay.
Unless you had something different. Okay, no, we got all the same thing then.
Okay.
All right, well, thanks for coming out tonight, I appreciate it. Thank you. Next on the agenda was a request to approve an FG liquor license for Thomas Akil of the Catherine Gas Corporation. Thomas is going to be the new owner of the Shell gas station at 12954 South Cicero Avenue. Previous owner had an FG liquor license, and this issuance is for the new owner and will keep the number of FG licenses the same. Just to be sure, Thomas, are you in the audience here at all? No? Okay. It really, this is just a transfer of a license to a new company that made this purchase, so that's why I brought this to the board, just so you know that there was a transfer of ownership that took place for this liquor license. And again, no need to create one because we've already got one established at that same location. Next was a request for elected officials to attend the annual Illinois Municipal League Conference. Again, this takes place every year from September 19th through the 21st. It's a 2.5-day event. Cost of this is $325 per person. A single-day participation is $225 per person. This is the first year they're moving it to. Typically, they always have these at the Chicago Hilton. This year, they're going to the Chicago Marriott Hotel that's down on Wacker Drive near Michigan Avenue. So please let my office know if you're interested in attending this conference. I certainly plan to attend. Every year I go, and I pick up some great insight and certainly potential for new policies and so forth that we can implement here in the village. Next was a presentation by Rich Eber of American Commercial Bank and Trust, requesting the village consider approving a liquor license to be created and approved to be used within a new video gaming cafe within a strip center that's being considered for purchase in the village of Alsip. So, Rich,
Yeah, good evening, everybody.
thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to outline a high-level kind of business plan, investment opportunity I have. My colleague Brett Davis, we've been working together as commercial bankers since 2015. I've been in the industry since 2012. Yeah. So we've known each other for a long time. A quick little background, I'm from Oak Lawn. I live about 1.5 miles away from here. My dad is the owner of Dental Associates of Alsip at 111th and Cicero. Brett and I have worked with other family-owned businesses in the Alsip area for many years through our capacity as bankers, so very familiar with the area. We've been actively looking for an investment opportunity together, and that's we stumbled upon the building that's at 115th and Pulaski on the southwest corner of that intersection. Today the building is made of 2 units, 7,000 square foot. The 3,500 square foot space is currently occupied by DaVita Dialysis. We have some very rough floor plans.
Okay, thanks. You want to share those with everybody?
Thank you.
Just a rough sketch estimate.
That's the building as proposed after renovations that we made. Today, a 3,500 square foot space is completely vacant. I think it's been vacant for a long time. So our goal will be to purchase the building, subdivide that 3,500 square foot space into two separate units. We would like to occupy one of the units as a wine bar. I could kind of go through a little bit, but our focus would be to have a wine lounge / club to occupy the remaining unit. Our focus would be to establish a wine club with their own privately labeled wine accompanied with food pairings and different appetizers. We'll be able to provide more information on a menu at a later date, but this was really kind of just have a quick discussion to see if this is something that the village would entertain. Brett has a couple more points.
Sure, go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, hi, Brett Davis. Hey, nice to meet everyone. As Rich said, we've been kind of looking at different investments, whether it's real estate or a business, for several years now. We kind of came across this one, as he said, mainly because of the potential and the location. So we learned through the brokers that walked us through the building while we were there a couple months ago that the current owner is an absentee owner. He lives in California, and they've struggled to bring any new tenants in because he doesn't want to invest any more money into the property. So we looked at it as, well, yeah, today, just with a single tenant in the property, it's not sufficient cash flow, but by being able to bring the business in to pair with buying the building, it makes more financial sense, and would be able to cash flows day one. And then obviously with demising it, like Rich said, and talking to the brokers, the square footage that would be available is much more marketable, so we feel that we'd be able to bring in another business fairly soon after splitting it into two units. So, in conclusion, just looking at this as a good opportunity. It's a great location. Obviously, as you know, it's kind of an entrance into Alsip on that corner there, and being able to improve it visually with some landscaping and bringing in new tenants as well. So, with that, I'll open up for any questions. We appreciate everybody's time.
So, trustees, I will share with you, I did explain to Rich that typically we do not consider gaming cafes without bringing more of a restaurant scenario with you. In this case, this was interesting, and it's why I asked Rich and Brent to come out tonight, was that while they are not necessarily bringing a restaurant to the village, they are going to invest in a mini strip mall here, where, like as they said, it houses a dialysis center right now. You're going to bring in, like, as you said, a wine bar, and then what do you think you might be able to fit in the remaining space?
Yeah, so the broker said that they had some opportunities. I think one of the bigger ones was
Well, there was like a Little Caesars, but there was
Caesars.
also a chiropractor interested, and another dental, which I don't know if his dad would care for, but
but we haven't really spun the wheels on looking down those leases. We're still negotiating with the guy who's selling the property. So
Okay.
I think we're close enough, but we're in the ballpark where we think it only makes sense if we have the opportunity to run that line.
yeah, we wouldn't want to do one without the other. From our standpoint, this would make sense at this point.
So while I understand you gentlemen are investors, have you operated anything like this before? And do you plan on personally operating this?
Yeah, we do plan on personally operating this. I do own another bar with my family in Oak Lawn called
Okay.
Copper Top on 95th Street. I help my brother do all the financials and manage things. That is a full kitchen. So
The-
it's a
the
little
Copper
bit
Top?
Animal. What's that?
The Copper Top?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice place. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Copper
Yeah.
Top. And then through banking experience, I do bank some terminal operator companies, so I kind of get behind the scenes of how those
Okay.
companies act. But we would be the operators. My wife would probably help out a little bit too.
Okay. Trustees, did you have questions for Matt and Brett? Rich and Brett, I'm sorry.
I know you say this is a rough draft, but it doesn't appear you have any food prep area?
So the back room is already where the bathroom is.
Right.
I'd say, what's the square footage back there? Yeah, so like I said, it's a real rough.
Right.
But we would have storage and prep area behind that wall where you see the bathroom is. And that's not to scale, so.
Right.
It's probably.
Okay.
And as Rich said, it wouldn't be a full-scale kitchen, full-scale restaurant.
Right, right.
But there would be
So,
space there. I think this would be about 1,500 square feet is the space here. And then the remaining space open would be maybe 1,700.
Thank you.
trustees, you have any questions over here? No? Well, certainly, again, as I said, gentlemen, we typically don't entertain these ideas in a standalone scenario, but obviously making an investment like this, and I know that the one half of this has been empty for some time, so generating a little bit of revenue out of that really wouldn't, certainly benefits the village and yourselves, but it'll certainly help the property taxes and everything else over there yet too. So, yeah, I'll ask the board to consider this next week, okay? If they would consider creating a liquor license for this particular location. Okay.
Really appreciate all of your
And then, Rich, what I'll do is when you and I were going back and forth, I was actually out of the office, but I'll have my assistant, Becky Smith, get a hold of you, and she can give you all of the intricacies as far as cost and all that kind of thing is concerned yet, too. You know, real quick, just to be sure, I get the building commissioner. Roger, do you see any issues with a site with a business like this taking place at 115th and Pulaski?
Other than ingress and egress, depending on what they were going to divide the current building up into, whether, you know, I think I heard him say 1,750 square feet would be left for, obviously you guys would be cutting in ingress and egress doors in the front and the rear, and then obviously putting up a wall. We'd have to see what's actually going to fit with parking. Off the top of my head, I don't know how much parking is exactly there. I know that I know we were just there, they just updated their fire alarm, so everything did pass. But depending on what other entity they would be bringing in there, would be kind of hard to figure out without knowing what exactly what the parking was.
Exactly. So, and again, I've got so many things on my desk right now, so I'm glad we're like anything else, let's get back to first base. So with something like this, before we get ahead of ourselves, gentlemen, if you would, I know we got a conceptual idea here, but as Roger said, we need to qualify the parking and so forth yet too, you know, just to make sure we didn't commit to something, then we're stepping back on too. So let's put it this way, it might, maybe not next week, because we're going to have to sit down and talk with Roger one more time. Give me a couple of meetings to meet again. But in the meantime, if you would please, Roger, you have a card you can give them, and work with Roger, please, and let's determine. Yeah.
It's not very,
Let's determine its use, as Raj said, and just to make sure we're not overcommitting ourselves.
yeah, we'll talk, we'll do some more due diligence on our side.
Off the top of your head, Rich, how many parking spots do you have out there?
Let's say there's 4.
About 30 spots?
The good thing is the dialysis center, when we'd anticipate that the high traffic to the wine bar
Yeah.
would be when the dialysis center's closed, so I think there'd be yeah, it's at home dialysis.
Yeah, it's at home, so this is where people come to learn, so it's not a center where people are.
Oh, I didn't know that. So they're not actually performing the service there. Okay.
They receive they have a shipping door dock on one side where they receive all the equipment, people come in and learn how to use it.
Okay.
Just a training facility.
So it's just training facility.
Rarely any cars in that parking lot, just a couple here and there, and then the worker, that's about it.
Very good. I didn't know that. I thought that was a regular, typical. I know there's maybe a different name on Sister Avenue and stuff then too, but that's just a training facility. Okay. Well, that's great. I hope this works out yet too. You know. So, yeah, if you please work with Roger, and let's just finalize what we need to as far as Roger. If you can give us a report back on your recommendation then too, and then we'll go from there. Okay.
I can definitely do that.
Okay. Thanks much, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Appreciate all your time.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Next was a presentation to the Economic Development Committee members and board members in attendance regarding a request to develop a new restaurant or restaurants and a possible retail facility in the village of Alsip. So I asked the board in an email I sent to everybody individually to not violate Open Meetings Act, was not to say the corporate name of the restaurant that's being considered. But we do have a interest of a major chain coffee restaurant. Roger, can you grab a mic, please? You can help me with this, just so you're mic'd up for this. Our building commissioner, Roger Early, and myself have been working on this for probably, what, Roger, about a year?
Close to a year.
Yeah. And we have three parcels of land under contract at 121st and Pulaski on the east side of the street. And they're considering building a new restaurant, two facilities, actually, a restaurant closest to the car wash, and then the conceptual drawings I sent and put in everybody's packet was either a second restaurant to the south or possibly a retail. And that would be up to them, whatever they're thinking is going to work best. I did meet with Chief Miller last Wednesday, just shared input with the chief, because I've been talking with our legal department, and this chain restaurant's pretty popular, and what you call it, we were even, legal actually suggested you may want to consider vacating 122nd Street at Pulaski just to create more of a strip mall concept and offer yourself just a little more parking, a little more with the drive-through and everything else yet, too. Chief, go ahead if you want to share anything you had on that, too.
Just to clarify, I think their recommendation was to make that a dead-end street.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. By vacating, I mean making it a dead-end street. So as you come
Yeah, I
up
was going to say, yeah, because, I mean, vacating it and adding it to the property is different than making it a dead end.
This way, when you pull up to it, it'll create more of a scenario where you have a strip mall that will go basically from the Clearwave Car Wash all the way to like Pappas Restaurant in a way. There'd just be one big strip center all the way across.
Was this at the request of the petitioner, or is this at the request of the village?
That was just a suggestion on my part, to do
Just
something
my
like that.
opinion, and just my opinion only, I would leave it as a through street because, in my opinion, I think you're going to have 90 to 100 residents that are ticked off
that was
that
my
you're
first
blocking their
concern
access.
is-
I'm just
yeah,
saying it's something to consider, if we decide to go that way.
Yeah, because the conceptual drawings showed where that turnaround for the dead end would be. The street's 30 foot wide. Turnaround requires at least double that width in order to have a proper turnaround.
Right.
So that would go well into the proposed area for the drainage.
True. Yeah, because they're going to have to put up some retention back there yet, too.
Right, and the proposal indicated the retention area, which would be incurred into by that turnaround.
I'm all for like the original, and actually over the weekend, Saturday, I got a call from the commercial real estate person for the new retailer, and the original developer that we were working with, Raj, had their contract canceled because they didn't get this done fast
I was
enough.
familiar with that.
Yeah, so they have a new developer, and he's like, "Are you willing to work with him?" I said, "Sure." I mean, the seller is as well. The question I just bring to the board tonight was, and actually, I'll go back to number one here, I just thought of this at the same time, was just really, is the board interested in this particular concept? And if so, I'd like to get a consensus to have our attorney engage with the developer, because the big question at hand is they're looking for TIF funding, eligible TIF funding to make this fly. And the recommendation I had put on in the information I sent to the board was I'd like to keep it similar in fashion to what we did with other properties we did down the street. This one might need to be nudged a little bit or negotiate a little bit more. But I'd like to have our attorney, Joe Kankar, engage with the organization to work out the intricacies of what needs to take place here. Did anybody have any questions on this particular concept? And like I said, forget about the street thing. It's just, we're going to stick to what they want first.
I mean, yeah, I read through the whole packet, and it seemed very thorough, and I liked the way that everything was laid out.
Okay. Okay. Certainly, everything we're talking about is foilable. I just didn't want to use the corporate name, just out of respect for the company until we get this done, that's all. So what I'd like to do, Madam Clerk, if you would, I'd like the consensus from the board authorizing the village to have the attorney start speaking with the developer on this particular project.
Alrighty. Roll call number one for consensus. Trustee Dalzell?
Yes.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Navas Garza is absent. Trustee Prada?
Yes.
You have your consensus.
Thank you. Trustees, I also missed one on number 1 here on the agenda, and it was a consensus to have the village attorney draft an ordinance to renew the Class 6B, it's a 6.8, but it's Class 6B real estate tax incentive for the property owned at 4251 West 129th Street. Madam Clerk, can you take a consensus on that as well?
Yeah, let me just update that.
I always like doing this, we're not spending money unless the board was interested in this particular action.
All right, roll call, excuse me, number 2 for consensus. Trustee Dalzell?
Yes.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Navas Garza is absent. Trustee Prada?
Yes.
You have your consensus.
Great, thank you very much. Next on the agenda was a okay, we did that, number 6. So number 7 was a request for consensus asking, because my office, my assistant Becky is looking for some direction, request for consensus asking the village board if they wish to replace the inoperable digital sign outside the village hall with another digital signboard or a backlit static sign. Just so, because the contractors that came in are all asking, I wanted to just get some direction from the board.
Am I doing a consensus for digital or backlit or just whether we're replacing?
Either, just, if you would please, board members, if you could just say digital or static.
Okay.
In other words, backlit.
Okay. Roll call number 3, Trustee Dalzell?
Mayor, until I review all the rest of our budget stuff, I wouldn't even look at this. We don't have a budget for this yet.
We haven't had a budget, well, we're going to be approving this budget next week,
Right.
so. I said the same thing, it's just that, we, in a planning stage, we can back this up. We just would, she wanted some direction on what the board might want to follow. It's already been, I'll tell you what, we'll do that. We'll get right to the budget. Let's do that, okay? That's fine. Anybody else? Anything, any questions or anything?
Well, my biggest concern with the previous proposal we received was that was just too big. I don't see a need for a 7-foot by 4-foot digital sign out there. I think something far more reasonable would be acceptable, or if that's the only size option, then I would just say static.
Right. That's one of the smaller ones.
But, the other thing that we talked about last week was the volume of traffic that goes
Volume of
past
traffic, and there's public safety, and
Yeah,
it's,
and
that's why I said, to me, the 4-foot by 7-foot blasting at everybody.
The site, trustee and I, we walked out there, and the village has a huge tree just east of there that blocks out the vast
Anything
majority of that.
coming, heading west, yeah. You can't see it if you're heading west.
Great idea, but I think it would be poorly implemented at this point in time. And
Yeah.
I think that the village has better places to put one.
I think Becky's focus really was just on maintaining what was, because it was a nice structure, it was a nice sign.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, it fell apart, or it broke down, whatever the case may be, so she's just trying to maintain the property out there.
Yeah. But the current sign is closer to 3 by 5 as opposed to 4 by 7. So this would have been a huge jump in terms of what was
It's
proposed.
been broken for a length of time, which I agree we should do something. I just don't understand where the emergency is.
We're just looking for direction, that's all. All right, so I apologize, I had so many things that were going on this agenda, I forgot to put this on, but it is a committee meeting, but I would like to have a brief discussion with the department heads in the room regarding their individual budgets, if anybody has any questions. And everybody's seen this for the first time, so if we need, we can certainly host another meeting before our regular meeting. This has to be approved by the end of the month. So with everything that's been going on up in the finance department with the audits and so forth, a lot of this I have pushed back a little bit, and I appreciate a lot of the department heads meeting with Maria or just recently to iron some of these things out. So department heads, if you would, please just bear with us, and we'll try and go through these. Trustees, if you would, please, if you can look at first one, being the administrative department, being my office. Last year's budget called for $677,000. We actually spent $574,000, so we were about $100,000 short of what we needed. We were less than what we needed to spend. In this year's budget, the only real standout items, as you go down these, is the in comparison to last year, was I would like to have the board consider. And again, we're not going to hire anybody without board approval or do anything without further board approval. It's just an appropriation. But I do think we need to appropriate. Like last year, we budgeted $55,000. We only spent $10,000 on economic development. I would like to keep $50,000 available again, with a possible potential for creating a TIF on Cicero Avenue to help stimulate some development along Cicero, at least tools that can help move a couple of properties that are over there. And then the other was, I'd like the board to consider, we've had a real good run the past 7 years. We've done really well. Roger, ballpark, what have we seen in development? Over maybe $205 million?
I think upwards of 240 to 260, actually.
Okay, so it can be as high as $250 million of new development over the last 7 years. We've done really well. One thing I've seen, I'm looking at, it's just getting a little bit stagnant, and it's nobody's fault. But when it comes to grant writing, we actually don't have a professional grant writer or a lobbyist working on our behalf. And I would like the board to consider appropriating maybe $1,000 a week and call it $52,000 total to put toward either a grant writer or a lobbyist to help us secure more funding. A lot of our operational monies are getting swallowed up like every municipality, whether it's insurance and equipment, properties, it's all the liability, workman comp and so forth. And then the other lately is our healthcare insurance. The healthcare, when I came on 7 years ago, the checks were every month were between $250,000, $300,000. Now they're between, $300,000 and $500,000 every month. I signed a check, or approved one anyway, yesterday, for over $400,000 for a month. With these kind of expenses coming at us, I want us to try just a little bit harder and try and get somebody in position to help the departments apply for grants whenever possible. A lot of municipalities do this, and we have not utilized such. I think we've done really well without, but you can't just be complacent. You have to move to the next level and try a little bit harder, and that's really the only two standout items on my list. Were there any questions on that? Thank you. Next, the Police and Fire Commission, basically their budget stayed status quo. We budgeted $36,000 last year. They only spent $21,500. This year's budget calls for $28,000. Finance Department, last year we appropriated $1.1 million. We only spent $1 million, and we came in. We only spent $1 million, so it was about $100,000 positive. This year, that budget got reduced a little bit, down to $917,000. Maria's doing a great job, and she's budgeting lean. And one of the things in here, let's see.
And some of it feels a little bit too lean.
I just saw that. The
math on line 9 doesn't work out right.
Finance associate, $32,000.
Yeah.
I don't think she's totally committed to that. If nothing else, that's going to be a part-time job. But I think you're right, Trustee. That does look a little bit light. Because even at that position, we just agreed to over at the firehouse. Chief, what do you think that is annual for that $15 an hour?
I don't remember what it was.
It's probably about $40,000 a year, I'm guessing, right? All right. I'll ask about that, trustee. And then one other thing, that part of the reason why it's so much less, we finally got rid of the contractors we had upstairs. We don't have gov temps up anymore. That was $125 an hour, and certainly we just saved over $100,000 not having them here anymore yet too. So that's part of the bigger difference that you see in that particular number.
Yeah, and there's savings in the audit expense too, because we've incurred a
Exactly.
lot of additional funds in that area as well. But like when we get down to the service maintenance contracts with the note of get rid of, we still need to have, I think, the internet service brought into the building. I'm not sure.
They've got, with the service maintenance contracts, I think what she's referring to is the departments, chiefs, you guys reassumed your own maintenance, your own software contracts, right?
Correct.
Okay. That's where a lot of that went, trustee. Everybody took theirs back. Next was the Human Resource Department. His went up a little bit, just considering that he's going to, we used to have let's say it was really just all the part-timers that came in the summer, and I believe Mike Road and Bridge as well, you guys, is HR now assuming the cost of your physicals, right?
That's my understanding.
Right, so that's why that number went up, $7,000 is for physicals and whatnot. And the other is, and Tony had a family emergency tonight because he was going to be here, he saw me at 4 o'clock, but he wants the board to consider an HR program, a software program. He spoke to everybody about once before, but I told him, this is at best, what we could do is maybe have the board consider, if this fits into our budget, consider approving, but just as an expense, but he's not purchasing anything without board approval, because we want to have a demonstration and so forth for everybody to be comfortable and familiar with this process before that takes place. Somebody actually got injured at his house. He had to go home this afternoon. The clerk's budget, Renee, if you want to speak to that.
I think it's pretty much the same as last time. I know Erica answered some of the questions that you had. Roger, I know that we had this in the budget with the desks at the front window. I think that was in the budget last year. Are we still planning on doing the desks in the two offices, or are we?
I have $80,000 in village properties budget.
Okay.
To the building department side. I did not include anything
So
on that side.
we have 16,000 in the clerk's budget for their desks. If I've talked with Erica a little bit about it, I said you guys figure out what you want and let me know. So I don't know if she'll probably talk to you about it, but
We can figure that out.
okay.
Are you looking for 4 desks or 6?
Well, I think we discussed the window one. That was going to be too difficult because it's attached to the window. So maybe just those 4 desks in there, I think, would be okay for now. But yeah, everything else is pretty much the same carryover from last year. And I know you had a couple questions, but Erica did answer those for you, so I think it's okay.
Okay.
Unless anyone has any questions.
No, last year, again, we appropriated $329, spent $315, and this year's budget is $359. And again, that includes wages and whatnot that were adjusted as well, too. Next was the village properties, and obviously, Raj, what I did, too, and that's why I put notes on her for everybody as well, too, we used to segregate different responsibilities you had. It was just too much chasing around. That's why I said, let's just put your salary under the building department where it needs to be. We know what your duties are, and that's why I didn't include it in this particular budget. That's why the number looks a little bit different to all the trustees. Roger, if you, I was going to do this for all the departments, by the way, too, is, do you want to copy this so you know what we're speaking to? Okay. If you grab a mic, please, Raj, will you? And then, just if you can give us just a quickie for the expenses that you have there yet, too.
So some of what I've put in, I would need some direction from the board with obviously replacing the remodeling of with the desks and the paint and the carpet in the building department. Obviously, that's self-explanatory. But obviously, if you look at it, line 29 and then following down, there's $870,000 in there. That would be to modernize both building department and the clerk's office. I don't know if we're at that point to do that, which is where I would need some direction from the board on that item. And then also the repair on the police department and the PD and the village hall roof. That is the maintenance shop to the north of us, the garage portion of it. That is something that we've got less than a year's life. I mean, I could stretch it into next fiscal year with just putting Band-Aids on it, but it is definitely going to need to get repaired within the next year or so. I did include the exhaust fans for Public Works. To my knowledge, none of them have been operational for the last 2 to 3 years. I also did include the pumping station and the Public Works roof replacement, which is obviously under contract and underway currently. They are starting Public Works garage on the 17th, and they are currently working over at the pumping station. I did get some quotes and am looking to put a bid spec together for the air conditioning, which would encompass the police department. That is currently anywhere from $150,000 to $219,000 is where I got 2 quotes from 2 different companies. We on 2 different. I asked for Train and I also asked for Aon, and they were quite higher than what previously. We were thinking it was going to be $70,000 to $90,000. With the changeovers and the new mandates, everything is going through the roof. So that is why that moved from $90,000 to $150,000. The seal coating, obviously, we have to put 2 coats down. That would be for all 7 sites. The pumping station masonry work has already been completed, and I think I touched on everything else in that. And then the other one would be either static sign on both sides of the building, or at $30,000, or doing a digital sign at close to $90,000. And I believe that the way that I did it, I already took it out and put the $30,000 for the static signs, the backlit static signs.
So, Roger, I can certainly agree. I mean, we're already under contract, like you said, to do the roofs at the pumping station and Public Works. It's $410,000. As you said, at least $150 for the new police department HVAC, seal coating, pump station masonry work. I approved that already because they were doing the roof and the brickwork fell apart. Exhaust fan for the Public Work garage, $78,000, huh? To do that.
There's 15 fans up there, and none of them are currently working.
Okay. And then repair the PD and Village Hall roofs. This is just a repair?
This would be a complete tear-off and re-roof.
For $115,000?
correct. The roof is over 25 years old. I will be working, what I would more than likely do is put them both out to bid next year. The police department addition, that roof was put on in '99, so it's obviously going to be 25 years old. I would look to do both of those at the same time. But the more and more we go up there and look at that garage roof, it's in bad shape. I can put Band-Aids on it for the time being. I just don't know how well it's going to last, or how many times I'm going to have somebody come out.
All right. The install bulletproof glass at the clerks and building department, $870,000. You know, when we originally talked about improving the security at that area, you know, it's a number, I get that, but I didn't have anything close to this. The ARPA monies that I was going to work with was really, it's probably half of that, you know, that kind of thing yet too, you know. But it wasn't just for this. We were talking about a possible service garage, possibly knocking down the rental properties that we have and maybe putting it in the same place. The taxes on those two homes, I just appealed to myself, and I got shut down, you know, just like everybody else that you read about and stuff yet too. So I physically went and did all that with the assessor and the board of review. But I don't see, unless the board wants to pursue that, I can see improving the departments, like you said, but you know, the cost of it, security.
At the cost of it right now, it's not feasible.
No. And I know we like to handle security discussions at another time, because we're not going to talk about what's what, but I'm just saying this particular cost, I think, is a little bit beyond, unless the board feels differently. All right. I will talk to Maria, and I'll confirm what I have left in ARPA money board, and I'll get back to everybody tomorrow as far as what is available, what we still have, and what it can be used for, and I'll get it back to everybody with that. Very good. Board, any other questions for Roger on his budget? Boys, Roger, that's the only one that kind of blows it out of the water, is that, you know, is that one item, too, you know. Well, obviously, we need the other stuff, you know, I'm sure Chief Miller and everybody appreciate getting a new air conditioning unit over at the police department, yeah. Yeah, exactly, you know, and, what you call it,
Losing weight.
the other stuff, certainly, this is typical maintenance that we're talking about yet, too. We still have with the HVAC computers, we allocate like $1,000 a month toward that. It's like $12,000 a year. How much longer?
We're under contract for we were under contract for 5 years. This is year 3.
Yeah.
Coming up in September, October.
All right.
That's money well spent, huh?
Don't even get me going, man. Yeah. I like the old-fashioned, you know, I mean, even if we got them programmable, like you can get at home, if we had a Nest or a Eco or something like that, you know, Ecobee. So, all right, thank you very much. So, Raj, yeah, last year, and you and I talked about this, I think a lot of things in last year's budget might have been miscoded. I know we found it in the heritage budget, but, you know, we appropriated $534,000 last year, and you only spent half of that. And but again, these are projects that are rolling over to this year too, so that's not really a win.
Pretty larger projects that are rolling over.
Exactly. You know, the seal coating and certainly the HVAC and all that. Yeah. All right. Next, we had.
Problem is, every time we roll these things over, they get more expensive.
I know. You know, that's why we're going to hit it this year. I got my assistant. She's holding on to you every other day when she sees you and stuff yet too. You know. Next, the ESDA budget, Chuck Geraci's budget. Last year we appropriated $29,200. He spent $29,900. I don't know how that happened, but this year, while he's asking for $34,000, I'm recommending this gets brought back to about $26,800. And you see my adjustments accordingly, what I had on here yet, too.
Mayor, do we have any statistics on this? Do we have any number of call-outs, the percentage of the response
You know-
hours that were been volunteered?
Trustee, he gave me a whole packet to go with this, and
As he always does.
not to inundate everybody's clock on this, but I'll surmise and I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay? Sure.
I'm relatively confident that we've got a plethora of supplies already in that ESDA area, and I just don't understand why we continue to buy more and more supplies when we make use of zero of them.
No problem. What I'll do is I'll give you a summary, and I'll double-check with Chuck at the same time.
Thank you.
We'll go to the fire department budget. Last year, we appropriated 6.5. We spent 6.4, and part of the, well, two things happened last year that we were aware of yet, too. One of the bigger things that we got stung with was we appropriated $400,000 as an expense to the GEMT refund. That's for the ambulance billing. And that projection came out low because we ended up getting billed $700,000 instead. And Chief, you're saying dollar for dollar, we're sharing that cost of that ambulance
Correct.
billing, right?
So, yeah, we paid out $700,000, it means we brought in $1,400,000 for it.
Chief, I put a big one on here because I asked Maria, I didn't get the answer back yet, but I'll have this confirmed by tomorrow as well. That's why I highlighted it. I appropriated $400,000. Do you know where we're at with that projection for this
No,
year?
there's no way to predict it, just depends on how our ambulance calls fall. I mean, this month we could have a lot, and then next month we have hardly any. There's no trend to that. When I talked to Maria, we talked about bringing it up to $500,000 just to be on the safe side this year.
She didn't tell me. Okay, so we're saying 5 on this one here.
700 was an anomaly, but they also didn't bill us one year, so we got,
Okay. And then, Chief, in this year's budget, we do have the $800,000 for the new pumper truck we ordered in
Correct.
2021.
yep,
We supposed to get this by September?
September, October.
Okay. And then, outside of that, everything else was kind of like status quo. I didn't see anything that jumped out. You and I met, talked about a few things. Trustee Murphy, I know you had a couple of questions, too. Did you get those resolved?
I have not heard back.
Yeah, I sent an email, a reply email back to you,
When?
1 or 2 days after you sent me the email.
I'll look it up.
So the only one, Chief, that I was just looking here that might jump out a little bit is the mobile internet expense. So again, we expensed $5,000 last year. We typically go $4,000 to $5,000. Last year we only spent $760 according to this, unless that was miscoded. And this year you're asking for $7,300. Is that accurate? Like,
For
where do you get that
which number, I'm sorry?
That would be
35.
number 35.
I don't remember why I requested so high. I'd have to look back at my sheet. That doesn't sound right for some reason.
Okay.
It's normally not that high, so.
Okay. And then the one above that, with the training, and I always want to get this straight too, Chief. When the number 6060,
Yep.
we've got, last year we appropriated 7,000, we spent 2,300. We went back to 7,500 this year.
Yeah, there's some props we didn't get last year, some other ones we didn't make last year, so we just didn't get to it last year.
These are what?
Training props.
Training props? Okay. Okay. Trustees, any other questions for Chief Szynski? Chief, the rest of them look pretty, like I said, pretty much status quo on her. I know you had a grant, state grant last year, $448,000. I think we got close to that, right? Didn't we?
Yeah, it was the FEMA grant. It was $396,000.
Are we anticipating any grant money rolling in this season?
FEMA doesn't open up for the AFG grants until the fall time, and they won't even start distributing them to the next fiscal year. So there's really nothing locally that we could put in for that we would qualify for.
Okay. Okay, very good. Trustees, any questions for the chief? No? Thanks, Tom. Next, we'll go to the police budget. Last year, the police department, we appropriated 6.2. Now, they spent $6 million. This year's ask is 7.2. The majority, Chief Miller, what I saw in something like this was just really, I know we're taking on a lot of new personnel, and that's understood with uniforms and training and so forth. The one, that's what I sent you the question about earlier, was number 23. We went from $6,000, we're budgeting $260,000, and that's why I'm asking grants, but is that the, with the Attorney General and so forth yet too, with those, like, do we have anything covered in that
That's all
260?
the software programs that got returned back to us under the new, under Maria. The previous finance director kept software under her budget. Also, a big part of that is $150,000 for fuses, and the Axon contract, which is another $90,000. So that's where those are the two biggest chunks
Okay.
of that line that we just occurred within the last year.
That's my question. We're incurring them, but we don't have any grants or anything. I know that first year we had them, but we don't have them on the second
First year, the Illinois Attorney General's office covered fuses.
Right.
We just crossed into the second year of fuses, and $50,000 was covered by the Illinois Attorney General's office again, and the remainder, the $100,000, is going to be covered by Congressman Caston's grant, so that'll be covered this year. And then the rest of his monies are going towards Axon and the remainder of our LPR program.
Okay. So the 260 that we incurred, this is our expense. We don't have those resources in this. That's all I'm asking.
Correct.
Right? Okay. And then the dispatch chief, like you were saying, and that's why I just put a note. It can be anywhere from 250 to 300,000 that we typically get back from Oakland Dispatch.
Correct. The last 2 years, we've averaged about $300,000 as like
Okay.
a rebate type program.
And then, Chief, this is kind of a newer one, but when we're talking about number 38, communications and internet, the 32,000, I just put air cards and so forth. Is that what that is? I'm not even sure.
You know, it's more Brian's section.
Okay.
I'm not really sure what he uses that for, but
Okay.
he uses it for the PD for something, so.
And then, do I have this coded right with 70/40 equipment, supplies, outfitting new squads? Is that what that is?
Correct.
Okay. I was just a guess. I see these all the time. And then capital outlay with vehicles, again, 160,000 for new squad cars?
Correct.
Okay. Furniture and fixtures, when you went $5,000, I put down, I'm familiar with a lot of stuff you were doing, but is that when you guys rehab the front office?
Some of that was used for that, but a lot of times it's replacing a desk or something like that.
Okay.
I think Roger took care of most of the front office this last year.
Okay. And then certainly I understand the LPR software, and everything else is kind of status quo on here as well, too. Anything you want to say about the budget, Chief?
No, I know it looks like it went up, but a lot of the stuff is a cost that we were incurring within the last 2 years as far as the FUSIS and the Axon body cam program. We did add a position in here for a person to do redaction on body worn camera. We're still in discussions on how that's going to work, but probably in the next 2 weeks or so we're going to be bringing that up to you guys to get that moving. It could be a very time-consuming project for that person. I've consulted with Trustee Dozell on some of the things that they've been experiencing because they've had it longer in Orland Park and some of our other partner agencies. So it seems like that's the way most departments are going. So we budgeted for it, and we'll figure it out as we go.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and certainly I've got that indicated on here as well, too. Trustees, any questions for Chief Miller or the police department? None? Jay, thanks for being out tonight yet, too. No, that's good. Next, we go to the building department. Raj, you want to, I'll give you a copy of this one, too.
Most of this is just wages.
So, exactly. So again, just to give you a quick overview, last year's budget, we appropriated $363,000. We spent $312,000. This year's budget calls for $478,000. But part of the reason being is typically Roger breaks out his salary for different departments that he represents. And like last year, it was $55,000. And he's got his full salary in here. That's where part of what you're seeing like is an adjustment. Usually this is spread over 3 different departments, but now I have it in just one line item, just so we can monitor a little bit better. At least we know where it stands. We understand his responsibilities or where they're at. Raj, the only other things that jump out here, that some numbers that hadn't been filled before, is you've got contractual services, $3,000. What's that?
I would have to verify that one
Okay.
as to what that is, because I have it labeled as a different, the 3313 would be a different label, but I can definitely get back to everybody on that one.
Okay. And then the customer convenience fee of $3,500, what is that?
That was a carryover from previous. That was something that Joyce had put into, I believe it was for the,
I would be guessing it's for credit card charges.
yeah, I believe it was credit card charges. That's
I
something that,
think she made it 1, instead of saying if it's over this amount, it's this percentage, if it's less, she just made it 1%. I think that's what it was.
And this is like for what? If people are charging building permits?
correct.
Gotcha. All right.
We're incurring the cost for on the building permits.
Uniform allowance, I know you're outfitting your inspectors more so now than they used to. Is that what that is?
That is correct.
Okay. And then you got miscellaneous expense. Typically, they're miscellaneous expense. Yeah, typically you were at $1,000. You get $10,000. Is that a typo or?
It should be $1,000.
Okay. And again, I'm taking them off sheets that are being passed my way and stuff yet too. Everything else is pretty much status quo yet too. So that's really the only change is in the inclusion of a full salary in that thing.
Mayor, did we add another part-time building inspector
Building
from
inspector
24 to
part-time?
62?
What number are you looking at, trustee?
19?
Number 19. That's his regular.
That's our current,
That's his current person.
Okay.
That's Darrell, right?
correct, that's
building-
Darrell.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to Trustee Murphy's point, I mean, we spent, the budget in fiscal year '24 was 20,000. We spent 24. The year before that, it was 11, and now we're jumping to 62.
Well, we actually, we more than doubled that fee the board did, right?
Correct.
Went from 18 to what?
18 to 36, and we're looking to continue to move it up to $50
Right. And the
over
plumbing.
time.
The plumbing inspector and the electrical inspector, they don't see as much work as the building inspector.
Currently, the plumbing inspector is doing a lot more, which is why you see him making the 40,000 and the building not making as much, because the plumbing inspector is doing more of the inspections.
Okay. Okay, any questions for Roger on that? All right, and then environmental health, again, we appropriated 1.5 last year, we spent 1.2, went back to 1.5 this year, and really the only driver in this is always our garbage contract with Public Services. That increases.
That increases every year.
2%, something like that every year.
Yep.
And then the rodent contract, I'm always big on, we appropriated $10,000 last year, we only spent $4,000 on exterminator in public areas, but I always like to try and keep $10,000 available to bait public areas whenever possible. Next was the boat launch facility. Mike, you want a copy of this? Mike, here's a road and bridge to it. So the boat launch facility, everybody get one? Because I have an extra copy here. Everybody get a boat launch? Okay. Boat launch, last year we appropriated 129, and part of the reason, and then we only spent 21,000, but the reason being is we appropriated almost, what, Mike, about 90,000 to replace the broken piers?
100,000.
100,000?
Correct.
And you've got that again back into this year's budget.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what the 168 is for, is the building and grounds. So if you get 100 on that, Mike, what's the other 68,000 for then? What do you plan on doing?
Actually, it appropriated 125,000 for the new sections of pier for this year. And then we have maintenance costs that we're looking to have to do for the sanctuary out there, about 25,000. And then the rest is grass cutting and just supplies and things like that for outdoor launch.
These damaged piers, were they just wear and tear, or did we have an accident, or?
Wear and tear. They're original docks from when well, I should say the framing itself is original. The decking itself had been replaced probably 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's at a point now where the steel and the framing, we can't do anything with it anymore. We can't weld anything together. It's just corroded, deteriorated, beyond repair.
So are we getting similar? Why don't we just get those plastic floating docks? A lot cheaper.
That's what we're looking at, is the floating interlock docks.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that composite decking, or is it wood, or?
I believe it's aluminum.
Aluminum? Okay.
And that deck, those piers they float with the water too. They're on rails, but they kind of move with the water out there. Okay, that's fine. And then we'll go to Road and Bridge. I was struggling. Maria got me some better numbers today, so I adjusted these regarding real estate taxes and there was a rebate and then a real estate taxes. Those were important, certainly on the revenue side of this. Last year, revenue-wise, we were anticipating 3.1 and only 2.4 came in. This year, we're anticipating 2.7 million. But again, $450,000 was to the vehicle stickers, and that's going to be put into the tax levy annually too. So that's indexed in that. That's where the difference in this money came up. As far
We
as
should see it in both the revenues and the expenses then, shouldn't we? I mean,
where'd you see that in expenses?
well, I'm looking at the front page, and we're projecting revenues of 2.7 and expenses of almost 3.5. So either we didn't add it to the revenues or we double dipped on the expenses. I don't know, but
So-
shouldn't be that big a gap.
Right, so we'll take a look at that in here. So when it comes to expenses, our expenses are outpacing our revenue in this particular case. And Mike, if you can speak to this, I know one of the things that we're waiting on here is resurfacing the streets, and that's line item 41. We've got 1.2 million there. Last year, we only got $182,000 we expended on that. This year, we're looking for 1.2, but we are in line. We're waiting for a reimbursement.
Correct.
For the rebuild
That's
and all
why
that.
there's discrepancy there with, or higher amount that you'll see for this year. We have approximately 1.7 million that's being reimbursed to us from last year. 1 million from the state that was for, it was tabbed as Rebuild Illinois ARPA funds, which we use for resurfacing. And then we also received $750,000 from Cook County for the Invest in Cook that we use for Lombard Avenue. So we're anticipating those monies to be coming in soon. That's what we're anticipating for using for resurfacing this year. The MFT just does not, we're not seeing enough come in to sustain a street resurfacing program alone on MFT. We need to supplement that in the future. Again, this year, some MFT was already committed to our portion for the federal resurfacing of Costner Avenue, and then also for the safe routes to school sidewalks that are being installed near Hazel Green and Prairie Junior High, and then another $100,000 for crack sealing out of MFT. So it didn't leave a whole lot for resurfacing. Again, thought was to use the reimbursement monies to go towards that.
As you said, Mike, that $1.7 million is going to offset this 1.2 plus some others that you have here too.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, we should still include that in the revenue then.
I agree. I'll put that up on top here as a note to watch for then too, because I didn't have that figured out. I had a note explaining about the resurfacing, but not on the revenue side. So you're saying, Mike, 1.7?
Altogether, it should be at 1.7.
Okay. Okay. And Mike, the only other standouts I had in here with some larger expenses, you were looking to replace a backup generator for $42,000, right?
Correct.
And sidewalk maintenance program, it's just a little bit higher than what it typically is. Streetlight repair.
And for the sidewalk replacement program, we actually have a $50,000 grant that's going to go towards that.
That's right. Okay. Okay. And then back down to number 50, equipment. Mike's looking to purchase a new skid steer. You were telling me, Mike, what year is that machine you have now?
96.
It's a 96. And you said, how much is a new skid steer, Mike?
I believe I appropriated 100,000.
You got 149, but is that all for that? Just
No, then there's going to be miscellaneous tools and equipment, and then I believe we also have in there replacement of a dump body on one of our larger dump trucks.
That we just did, right?
We did one, yeah.
Oh, you're going to do another one too?
Correct.
Okay. And then, okay, so we have the vehicle tax stickers. We don't have to add any more. That's fine. Miscellaneous expenses, and then you had your equipment repair.
And why are we planning to remove so many more parkway trees this year?
We have $150,000 toward removing parkway trees. Go ahead, Mike.
Again, so we recently just had an inventory done on all the parkway trees. With that, we identified several that are in need of removal due to either being diseased or are already dead. These are larger trees. Unfortunately, we have over 4,000 trees in this town, so we're looking to probably remove, I would say, anywhere between 60 to 80 trees this year. I am working currently on a grant through the Morton Arboretum to hopefully cover that expense. We applied for it last year, but however, we didn't receive it, but we are applying again this year.
This seems like an awfully big jump.
It also will include restoration to the parkways after the trees are removed, so there's that cost as well.
And then the last was the equipment purchase. You're looking to get a new zero-turn lawnmower.
Yes.
How old's the unit you have now that you're going to? You're
Approximately-
replacing or adding to? I don't even know.
Replace.
Okay.
It's approximately 10 years old.
All right. So again, Mike, when we look at our expenses, we have a 3.4. Again, we're looking to get help with that, meet the difference. Like I said, we're at 2.7 right now, so we're going to put another 1.7 with that revenue. plus 1.7. There's your 3.4.
I'm sorry?
That's your 3.4, so it should be real close. I'll tally this up, and I'll get this back to everybody tomorrow and stuff yet, too. Okay. Any questions from Mike on the road and bridge budget? And, Mike, I'm sorry, you got a storm sewer one here, too. You want to speak to that? Mike, you hand this one to Danny, too, as long as you're going back there. And, hey, Mike, while you're standing here, here's the sanitary sewer, too. Storm sewer last year, we appropriated $525,000. We spent $91. This year, we're appropriating $163,000. Biggest part of that, which must not have took place, was Mike, you got infrastructure improvements, capital assets, $360,000 last year. Doesn't look like we did much of it, or did we? Is this number accurate?
So part of that was when we did the resurfacing on Lombard, we had done some drainage improvements. However, more work needs to be done, but before we can do that, we need to do a drainage study for that area in order to move forward. So that's what we're looking to do this year. Because of the area, they need to determine if additional sewer lines will be able to be installed and where they would discharge to. So we need to do the study first.
Understood. I'm just saying, we were $400,000 under, $350,000 under budget, so.
Right,
Okay.
because, yeah, we didn't do anything other
We
than
didn't
what.
do the work yet. As you said, you need a survey, and Mike's appropriating $20,000 for that particular study survey of both Lombard and Mather Street, correct?
Yeah, I think that.
That's what I
number's
wrote, but I
incorrect.
thought that's what you told me, that's what I'm saying.
I thought I had 50,000 for that, actually.
And wouldn't we just carry the money over so that once the survey is complete, that we could go ahead with the work?
Yes.
But we're not budgeting anything.
Oh, the work wouldn't be done until after the study, yeah.
Right, but we're going to get the study done this year?
This year, correct.
Do we get the study and the work, RFP out?
We won't know what those numbers are until the study's done.
Okay.
But you're saying, Mike, it was 50,000, not 20?
Correct.
That might have been on me. Okay, so 50,000. All right. And that's Lombard and Mather, because we still have a problem on Mather. Are you talking about the drainage near the tracks and all that?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. That engineering, trustees, we've been told numerous times over the years, we corrected the street side. We didn't fix anything down near the railroad tracks, and a lot of those yards, they got to have 3 or 4 feet of water in their backyard, and because we're asking a 6-inch pipe to do the work of an 18-inch pipe or something like that, right? Okay, so it's under-engineered. Any other questions for Mike? All right, thank you. And then, let's see, forget the MFT and all that. We'll go back to the next department Mike's got, as long as he's sitting at the microphone here, is the sanitary sewer. Last year appropriated $581,000, spent $284. I'm sorry, I didn't. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. That was miscellaneous expenses. No, I said that. Yeah, 581, spent 284. Mike, I think the biggest one here is maintain sanitary sewers. You've got, we went from 118,000 last year. You're asking for 725 this year. Can you explain? Is that accurate? Is that right?
No, because I think why it's showing 118,000 is because work that we had done last year for maintaining sewers was paid out of the ARPA fund. We had done televising and cleaning in a David Estate subdivision. Those expenses came out of the ARPA fund, I believe.
So I
instead
need,
of out of the sanitary.
okay, so I need to confirm if the ARPA funds covered the 725 already, or is going to?
Correct, yeah, I mean, I don't remember exactly what we spent for that program last year, I don't recall, but
What's the 725 projection?
725 is what we're appropriating to do for this year's cleaning and televising.
Is that, I know we just went out to bid on that, didn't we? Did we get a number back yet?
We have not opened bids yet.
Okay. And then new sewer construction, 35,000. Obviously, we're going from, 581 to 284. I'll confirm with Maria tomorrow. I just made a note here. What is ARPA covering for that 725,000? Right? That's what you're saying to me?
Yeah, so last year, actually, what was originally appropriated,
We appropriated 200,000. We spent almost 119.
right, and then those ARPA funds became available, and that's what we withdrew from for the work that we had done. So I believe that 118,000 probably came from doing the repair at Lawler and Avon, that sewer collapse that we had.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, right. The insurance company wouldn't even cover us on that either. I tried, HR tried real hard on that, they wouldn't cover that. All right. And you're right, what was that repair? That was almost a $200,000 repair,
It
wasn't it?
was over 100,000.
Yeah, unbelievable.
You also had that huge one on 129th.
Exactly, we had the other one back by Bimbo
Right.
Bakeries, that was
Yeah,
huge.
that was the sanitary.
That was 300 feet. Well, that's what we're looking at, is the sanitary, right. Yeah, those two alone, that could have been as much as $400,000 to fix those two. That was quite a bit of work. Mike, you know what, tomorrow, let's get together, let's confirm what was spent on those, and were they spent this year or last? I need to know that right away.
Last year.
Huh?
The ARPA funds?
Yeah,
It would have been in last year's,
okay. Because this doesn't look right for those two jobs.
yeah.
I want to make sure we're straight.
The 129th would have been the year before,
Okay.
actually.
But it's not reflected here, though. That's what I'm saying. I mean, okay, maybe in the FY24, but I'm just saying, between you and I want to make sure I got
Yeah, no, absolutely.
where we're square on that, that's all. All right, and then, any questions for Mike? And we'll get to the water department. Dan? Danny, revenues, actual revenues last year was $14,600,000. We're anticipating 15 million, almost 200,000 this year. And expense-wise, last year, Dan, we appropriated 12.9 million, and you spent 11 million. This year, we're appropriating 13.9 million. And again, we're estimating almost 15 million coming in. So I appreciate you really being under budget on something like this. The only ones that really kind of stand out as far as expenses go was, you've got upgrade water system, $880,000.
Yep. So, yeah, I thought we had resolved this, and I was just looking at my copy, and so the previous finance director preferred each project have its own line item for, water main repairs, where now we're going back to the older system. And so I had relocated it down to line item number 39.
Okay.
38.
38? No, it's cellular device.
I'm getting there.
Oh, you got 40. Upgrade water system?
Yep, 40. Sorry. And so, yeah, basically you've got the same project on here twice under this copy of the budget, your copy of the budget.
Okay.
And when I submitted, I had moved those 880 funds down to line item 40, and included the cost for the final invoice from Route 83.
Okay, so we can scratch the 880, correct?
Correct.
Do we need to add it to the 1.2 or
No.
the 1.2?
No, he already
covers it
did. He already
That's-
added it.
I already added that, but it did not get deducted from
Okay.
the previous version.
All right. Dan, you got engineering expense. We didn't have anything in there before. It's an $80,000 new expense. Anything
Same-
particular?
well, same thing. The previously, under the previous finance director, we had each engineering expense was per project under
Yeah.
a separate line item. And so again, moving all those down here, that 80,000 is going to cover
In the
our
1.2?
current 5-year plan for the IEPA loan project plan.
Okay.
And next year's design engineering for Hamlin and 119th Street.
Okay. The others are pretty much status quo when you're going down here.
One question I do have as we go further down, though, is the note about the roof replacement being under village properties.
Yeah, and so I didn't get that note, so I still have it under mine, but
Yeah.
I see it's deducted on here.
Exactly.
Well, I was going to say, though, because water is an enterprise fund, we should not be charging their roof to village properties.
Yeah, and that's, I had it under my budget, but I didn't know it got
You know,
relocated.
and just to be sure, Raj,
Well,
do we
and
have
it's
that?
more for the finance director needs to put it back here as
Well-
opposed to.
have that
Right.
in my budget.
But this 18,000 isn't anywhere near.
It's not
what the
nearly
cost of
enough to
that
cover
is.
the roof, no.
No,
Right.
I have 188,000.
So I will adjust that. Trustee, you make a good point. I'll adjust that back, and I'll take it out of the village property one then, too. So we're clear, this is 188,000, correct?
Correct.
It's coming out here.
Okay. Yeah, because that's a segregated fund.
It stays here.
And then,
Change it to 188.
Danny, just to wrap up, the water meters. Okay, and then I did put in here, trustees, I added a new line item under number 66. We're going to be going through some change here. Dan is retiring at the end of September, and I did ask Dan if necessary, would he be available to help in transition with the new commissioner or whoever's running the department? He said he could help remotely, but I made an allowance for that in there. That's what you're looking. That's what that transition means. I don't know that we're going to do it yet, but I'm just saying. I just want to obviously
You can't
appropriate
spend it
monies
if you
for
don't have the line item.
Right. So that's what the speech we give all the time. So I'm doing the same thing. And then that's about it. So Dan, your bottom line here was, we actually, it's a little more of a win. You're at about 14 million. We got 13 plus 880, which you just said that can be taken out of that yet too.
Yeah, my budget is 13,162.
13,162. Very good.
We also need to remove the masonry work out of my budget, put it in.
Say-
Exactly, that was
Say that again, Raj.
the additional 20.
Masonry work that was done.
Oh, yeah, I'll take care of that, right. Yeah, because that's what I said earlier, the wall was falling apart, we had to fix that.
That would put you at roughly 208.
All right. Thank you, thanks, Dan. And then we'll get to the last one here is the Heritage. Roger, here, you want one? Heritage did well last year. Revenue-wise, we were anticipating 4.8, came in at 5.4. So that was certainly a win this year. We're anticipating 5.1. It's going to be a little bit less.
One question I have though, Mayor, on the income side. On row 7, it's labeled as Heritage 2 apartment income. is that also inclusive of Heritage One, or are we missing Heritage One?
It is, it just, there's two, they're both in there.
Okay.
And last year, the big win was the interest rates, I'm told, as good as big as they were, the interest income was very strong on that, on those revenues being banked last year. We're not anticipating that same windfall this year, but we'll see. That was the projection that the finance director gave. And then, as far as expenses go, Roger and I had a talk. A lot of things we felt last year were identified, Raj, line item wise.
Line item, they were definitely
Everything got dumped into
4360, and
the 4360
rectified
last
that.
year. Saw an expense. We only appropriated 696,000, but we spent twice that much, and that's why that number. That's why I put it in red. Went so well over. So again, we're back to $700,000 on that same line item. The other change that you're going to see there is number 21 for apartment management. You're seeing an overall cost there. That overall cost includes wages, union, Social Security taxes and whatnot for the employees. Those are HRE's employees, not village employees. And so while the village is taking the rent money to afford those employees, we've collectively used one number here, right, Raj?
that is correct.
Right, to cover that expense. The next is apartment renovation. Last year we appropriated $250,000. And again, trustees, I think the best way of saying this whole thing is a lot of these things were, the line items weren't done correctly. We're going to diligent. We're going to be on this all the time.
We've been on it since.
Make sure our book, because when I brought Kenny Hobolt in to sign a new contract for management, I was very direct with him to say that we can't have any mistakes. I want this done properly and stuff here too. The money's okay. The money shook out, but we still want to know what we want to account for everything we purchased and stuff.
We implemented Excel spreadsheets. We're constantly tracking everything. Once we have a finalized budget, we will plug those numbers into it, and we will know exactly each line item by line item.
Okay. So again, at the end of the day, last year we appropriated $5 million. We only spent 3.3. This year we're looking to spend about 3.5. But Raj, I just want to make sure before we wrap up here, do we have the new pool in here for Heritage One?
Yes, I do.
Where's that at? Is that in the 700,000? Is that the 4360?
Should be in the pools.
Pool maintenance is only 22,000, so that ain't it.
You got 700,000 in building and site repairs.
This is a little different than the one that I just have to find it. I know when I met with Maria, we did originally have it in the pool, and then I believe it was put into something else. I just don't know exactly where.
I believe that's about a $550,000, $600,000 expense.
I believe you're correct. I believe we appropriated $600,000 for it.
The other in here, trustees, and Trustee Elzal, you had brought this up before too. We have identified the fact that previous finance directors were not accounting for the insurance that being paid over there, and we will account for that here. And I'm going to go back, and after we're done with our audits, we're going to do a cleanup and a repay on that as well too.
And I did talk to Tony from HR, and that's where we derived that number from.
Right.
Mayor, back on that line 21 for the apartment management, raising it to $1 million. If you were to take last year's wages and add to it the management, you're at 1.1 million just from last year.
So it feels like it should be a higher number.
Right. Thanks for pointing out. I got this number from the finance director and Roger, obviously. So, Trustee, were you at what, 1.1?
It was 1.1 for the expense of last year.
Okay.
So if we're going to project that forward.
I like this. maybe think 1.3. We're still way ahead of the game as far as budget goes here, but we agree on 1.3 on that then?
Sounds like a better number.
Better to have it, not spend it.
Right. Raj, let's confirm tomorrow that we've got that pool in here, okay?
I definitely will.
All right.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like the pool's there.
Roger, and beside the pool, what other major renovation are we doing? I know we just did the window wells and stuff.
We have completed the window wells.
But that's in this budget, too.
That's in this budget.
So-
We're going to do some concrete work. We're doing the epoxy foundation leaks, and then remodeling the kitchen and bathrooms.
So you got the, in your detail on the next page, uniforms, okay. You got that, you got the epoxy and everything else in here and stuff yet, too.
That is correct.
I just didn't, and even in this schedule, I didn't see the pool that we were supposed to replace a year or two ago.
I will verify that and make sure that it is in this budget
Okay.
with Maria, and then I'll confirm with you.
You got seal coat in the parking lot, you got a lot of detail in here and stuff yet, too. But, that's fine. I'm glad it's a good budget, but, just want to make sure everything's included, and we can't be too tight, because there will be a clawback on some of those insurance monies that got talked about before, too.
Understood.
Okay. Any questions for Roger on the Heritage budget? Very good. I want to thank all the department heads for hanging in. Thanks for, obviously, sharing everybody's time, that, one side versus the other and stuff then, too. But certainly, if you guys want to go, you're welcome to go, and so we'll finish the meeting up and stuff then, too, okay? Anybody, department heads, you guys have any questions? Anything else you guys want to put in there? No? All right. Thanks for coming out, everybody, then, too, okay?
Mayor, you got a thing in here for the, you got it in there for the OPEB, but you have it in there for the pensions?
I'm going to actually have the finance director firm that up for me, because I said the same thing. I thought we were square with most of those, but you're right. Well, let's put it this way, even with the investment, the return on those investments, I know you can't predetermine those. Is that what you're asking about the
Oh, no,
monies?
we don't have a single thing in here as far as what we're going to budget for the pensions,
Oh, yeah, okay.
police and fire side,
Right.
IMRF.
That's why I highlighted those. Now, I'll
Insurance.
ask her tomorrow just to make sure we have it in there.
Thank you.
And the other, on that same topic, though, the other thing that seems odd, at least on the very front page of the consolidated budget, is why would we have, is it basically overfunded OPEB above the revenues and the budget when we ended up in a negative position? It just
I'll be honest.
doesn't seem to follow what our directive was.
You know what? The numbers that I had pulled from it said FY '25, and it was FY '24. I was working on this at the end of the day today, trustee.
Okay.
So I will double check with her on that. And again, as you said, trustee, I'll double check the pension contributions for police and fire.
And then also on that front schedule, line 13, we've definitely paid a shit ton for liability and workers' comp insurance. So the fact that it's coming through as hashtag reference doesn't help.
She actually didn't supply me a sheet on that. She actually that sheet wasn't really there. So I'll
Maybe that's the
double
reason
check.
why I have the reference.
Yeah.
No, it just, it doesn't total then without that number in there. And it's a good number to know because we spend so much money on it.
Yeah, I know that workman's compensation. I know it's like roughly we're back to 630,000 on that yet, too. And that really eats up out of our general fund. That really eats it up.
It really does. So, and so I'm just saying the fact that the number's missing,
All right.
be helpful to have.
Sorry that ran so long, but again, it's a budget. We'll move on with the rest of our reports. We don't have an engineer this evening. Clerk's report. Clerk Hardy?
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the July 1st, 2024 board meeting minutes, and that is all I had, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Anybody in the audience wish to address the board tonight? Nobody? Okay. Then we'll go to our Standing committee reports. We'll start with Finance and IT. Trustee McGlohorn.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd say after all that finance discussion that we've already had, I'll limit it to a list of payroll and accounts payable for next week. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Then we'll go to our Fire Committee report. Trustee Murphy.
I have a presentation by Chief Zasinski regarding the need to replace the fire department ladder truck. As a recent annual inspection deemed the apparatus was unsafe due to its structural frame integrity to support the ladder. Chief?
All right, thank you. 2 years ago, we had the ladder testing done. I brought back that we have limited borrowed time left on this ladder truck. Last year when we had the testing, it was borderline. It was really close to going out of service, but there wasn't that much damage yet. And here we are this year, and yeah, it's out of service. We knew this was coming when we started preparing last year. We started talking about speccing out a new truck. It's been a very long project. Well, we're past that stage right now. Our ladder truck is out of service. It is sitting at Station 2 right now, just taking up space. That's about it. We met with 4 vendors over the last 9 months to almost a year to see what's out there, what meets our needs, what they have available to us. Spent a lot of time on that. That's changed. The day after, I should say the same day that the ladder truck went out of service, I reached out to all of them to see what demos they have available because now, again, if we go to purchase a new ladder truck, if I order it today, we're not seeing it for 36 to 40, 48 months, somewhere right around there. It's 4 years away from now. It really doesn't do us any good. All 4 vendors got back to me. 2 of them have demos available. Seagrave does not have any demos. They just builds whatever the orders right now. Emergency one never got back to us. So I'm going to assuming they're building to their orders also, because the last time I heard they had over 700 apparatus that were in line to build for E1 right now. Rosenbauer and Sutphin both got back to me. Rosenbauer has a 100-foot mid-mount tower ladder that is available right now. There is somebody else looking at it. So as of an hour and a half ago, it was still available. Sutphin, talked to Sutphin. There was one that was immediately available, and then they have one that's going to be on the line shortly that would be ready July of next year. The one that was immediately available, probably within 10 hours after I talked to our salesperson, that was sold. There are no straight ladder trucks available right now. Rosenbauer, the soonest they'll have any is 2026. Sutphin does not specialize in straight ladder trucks. They only specialize in mid-mount towers or mid-mount ladders, but again, they don't have any mid-mount ladders available. Last Friday, we looked at a Pierce straight stick, a 107-foot straight stick. It was sold the day before, but they still brought it out to us to look at as well. So we don't have a lot of choices here. We're to the point now that we have to look at doing an emergency purchase and go forward with this to try to get something within a short period of time. Our village is, like I said, I don't know how many times, our village is very unique because of the businesses that we have, the amount of businesses, commercial, industrial, the heights, the amount of apartment buildings that we have, that we need to maintain a ladder truck. All the storms, things going on.
Tornado warning.
Yep. It is also, here goes all my pagers. It is also based on our ISO rating, so we have an ISO rating of 2 right now. One's the best, 2 second right behind it. That ISO rating also includes because we have a ladder truck for our immediate response, as well as the size of the pump on the ladder truck as well. So I did reach out to ISO a couple days after our ladder truck went out to see what the ramifications were if we choose not to be in the trucking business, and we can lose anywhere from 1 to 2 points, which is huge for businesses, for their insurance, as well as multifamily apartment buildings and condo owners. Single-family homes, you're not going to see that much of a difference in, but everything else you will. Sutphin has another one coming on the line. That's the one that's going to be available in July of 25. They're holding it for me for 2 weeks to determine what we are going to do. That's all that's out there right now. There's not a lot of choices. The good thing, both both Rosenbauer and Sudfin are part of Sourcewell. I know we've talked about that before for purchasing. I've talked to both the mayor and Maria about financing it. A couple different schools of thought between leasing it or our bonds. I know where we're at with our audits right now, but the good thing is that's something that could be decided as time goes on, because we won't see nothing until at least May or June of 25, depending on what direction the board chooses to go, if they decide to go to that direction. Questions at all?
Chief, I know when you say we need to act on this quickly, but again, availability, I think you were telling me we're still over a year out on this, right?
You're available right now, right? If they'll hold it for me, we'll hold the demo that's going to be on the line.
Okay.
It's not like, well, we can choose one later on, because there is no later on. The other thing everybody's racing to get, because in 2026, the NFPA standard will change, but also along with the EPA, they're changing their standards for the motors as well, and that's going to be a huge uptake in the cost of anything new after 2026. So right now with the Sudfin that's going to be coming out on the line, that has a current motor that's already in there that's not going to cost us any more. Now the downside is we can't really customize too much on it. The demo's a demo, you're only getting what's on it. There's some minor changes I'm sure we'd be able to make based on what I've seen in the two specs, but not customize it like we did before. The Sudfin right now is $2.15 million, and the Rosenbauer is 1.7 and change. Talking to the gentleman that does our inspections about all the different manufacturers, he thought the Sudfin was a very highly regarded vehicle. They've had it's been pretty sound. Our original tower ladder that the fire department bought back in 1971 was a Sudfin mid-mount tower ladder when they built the Best Western, which is now the Doubletree Hotel. So again, we're looking for something with longer life. Sudfin has a brick and mortar service center out in Shanahan. Rosenbauer doesn't. Rosenbauer uses a mobile maintenance truck, and if it has to go in for service, it's got to go all the way down to St. Louis, or near St. Louis.
I did look at the quotes, and certainly, a big element to applying for finance, even if you go get a bond, they're looking for 3 years of audits. We're in the middle of doing all that right now, I don't have 3 years worth to hand them. But what I am told is that we could certainly, whatever the board decides they agree on purchasing, we can certainly make a purchase and refinance once we have those 3 audits complete.
Correct.
We're right in the middle of all of them right now. I actually talked to the partner at the auditing firm a few days ago, and they're trying to get going on this yet still. We got our FY22 audit draft completed, but next is the FY23 and FY24, so they're moving through them. But I don't have that particular paperwork readily available, so we're going to be looking. Chief, you and I will certainly have to meet with the finance director to decide who the best financial institution is to use to make a purchase. Regardless of the couple of templates that you got, we can certainly go out to bond and get a better interest rate on something like this yet then too. Right now, these are roughly at, I'm looking at the one in front of me here, was at 5%.
Yeah, usually they're probably all close. And then, like I said, with one not coming out to the line until July of next year and one not till May, we have time with that. The peers that we were looking with, that's sold in 2 days. That's immediate. We don't even have any preparations to do any financing right now. So I think we're in good shape with waiting for either of those two. Like I said, the only downside is we really can't customize it to what we normally do, but it's not the end of the world either, especially since we only have one ladder truck. We'll make things work. It has a lot of what we require with the 2,000 gallon per minute pump, which is essential to maintain our ISO rating. and some other things. So I mean, we'll be okay with it. And when we did tour everybody, we were very happy with what we saw with both the Rosenbauer that we went to see at Lamont. Lamont's been very happy with it. We went out to Cary to look at the Sutphen. They were very happy with it as well. The one that we thought would be the best suited for us is a Pierce mid-mount, but they're not making them as demos right now. They're just made to order. Again, you're looking at, almost 4 years away for that if we do that. So,
Budgetary-wise, again, we're trustees, and for those listening to our meeting, you were talking let's just say $280,000 a year for 10 years, paying on this for 10 years. You can get a 12-year note or a 15-year note, and that 280 can go down to 210, but you're paying an extra 5 years on something like that.
The other thing we don't know right now, and I know when we looked at the Pierce, like I just mentioned, that was approximately $2.5 million. I don't know what the pricing is going to look like. Nobody knows what it's going to look like when this new motor comes out. So that 2.5 can turn into 2.7 or 2.8 or who knows. We saw a huge increase just in the last 4 or 5 years, jump up remarkably. So, I mean, if we're going to do something, we really should do it now and take advantage of the pricing before everything goes skyrocketing.
Agreed. As Trustee Dalzell pointed out earlier, you push something back a little bit, and again, you just went up 3 points.
Yep.
So.
And we knew back in 2017 we had the ladder redone. We knew we were going to get 7 to 10 years out of it. Well, we got 7 years out of it. So, and it's the truck was a 2002. So, questions at all?
Yeah, I would say, trustees, any questions for the chief?
Does anybody?
What happens to the old truck, Chief? Do we get?
I'm gonna bring it up for disposal. I don't know what it's worth, how much of anything. I don't know if it's worth more in scrap metal. Nobody's gonna. You can't use it as a ladder truck because it can't function as a ladder truck anymore.
Are there any companies out there that park this that would take it and give us money for it and park
I
it
got
out?
4 different companies I'm going to reach out in the next couple of days. They got leads on who would want it for parts or anything like that. So that's going to be the other thing I'm approval next week is for disposal and look at different things and come up with the pricing for that as well. It's not going to be worth much of anything unless somebody decides to take that ladder because they need that ladder for a part. That's about the only money you're going to make off of it. Maybe the ground ladders will make some money off of it, but you're not going to make a lot of money off of it. Yeah, party bus, yeah. Yeah. So one of the things I'd like to do next Monday is again, it's up to you, obviously, the board, to make a motion to approve to purchase one of the two. I don't know, that's about where we're at right now. We haven't had to do an emergency purchase in a fire vehicle since 1987.
Chief, I think what I'm going to do is put together a spreadsheet for everybody, and so it's always easiest to look at hard numbers, as far as purchase versus lease, and giving two
absolutely.
two ideals, whether it's a stick or a tower, for the board to say.
Well, you can't get no sticks right now. That's the problem. They're not available.
Nobody's manufacturing a stick ladder?
By the time it gets out the door, it's already sold. They're manufacturing. You're not getting any demo ones right now. This is all that's available right now. Out of the 4 manufacturers I reached out to, this is it. Pierce had the only straight ladder that was available, and that sold in less than 2 days. That was actually sold before they even came out to demo to us on Friday. That's how quick these things are going because everybody's trying to scramble before the new standards change. So like I said, Sutphen's holding one for me to go on the line because the other one was already sold. When they knew that we might be looking for a truck, within a couple days, that one was already gone because somebody else was looking at it also.
And the Sutphen was how much?
2.15.
2.2.
And I'd round it off to 2.2 because, again, I don't know what else has to be done with it. Some of the things we might have to change. I know one of them had a generator. We don't need a generator anymore. We'd have the generator taken off and go to an inverter. It takes up a lot of space, and we don't need that. So.
And the Rosenbaum is 1.7?
Yep. And as of, like I said, it is available, but somebody else is also looking at it right now. as of 5:30 this afternoon.
Not knowing anything about it, but that is a pretty looking one,
Which one?
Rosenbauer.
Rosenbauer? Like I said, they're both good. I'm good with either one of them. If you're looking at longevity, I think Suffolk's got the edge. If you're looking for a brick and mortar facility, Suffolk's got the edge. Yeah, either one, either one's fine with me. It's something we got to do. I mean, we know we have to do it. We can't be really picky at this point. So again, I'll put that into the hands of all of you to determine which one you think we should go with.
And it being a demo, Chief, these have been used?
No, so they're called packaged vehicles, is what they are. So they come up with their own spec and they throw it together and say, okay, this is what you get. You really can't change a whole lot, and you can't customize it like we've customized everything else. So they're very generic. The good thing is all of our vehicles now, we don't have a lot of frills or padding built into this, so we're getting the same thing. We're getting a work vehicle without all the show, which is fine.
And Chief, you and I talked about this, but I'll say it for the record here. This will not increase manpower for this.
Our manpower is the way, it
apparatus.
still stays the same.
Right.
It'll staff with the same 4 people we have now. It's no different. We wouldn't run this any differently than we ran our used to have truck.
All right, let's get together, and like I said, let's put together a spreadsheet for everybody, and for the couple of brands that you talked about with the options, and let's go through the financing.
Right.
And
I'll keep in contact with the gentleman from Rosenbauer in case we might lose it by next week. I don't know.
right.
Then we're down to 1. We
Nothing we
only
can
have
do.
one
I
choice.
mean, but you just took it out of service a week or so ago. So
Yeah, but Crestwood, our Posen also doesn't have a truck. It got hit on I-57, so it is out 6 to 9 months. So we are really limited with trucks around our area. Ours and theirs we just lost. That's huge for our area.
I'm assuming, I'm sure you notified all the surrounding suburbs.
Yeah,
so we don't
yeah, they
have-
all know.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Trustees, anything else for Chief Szynski? None? All right,
All
thanks,
right,
Chief.
thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
We'll finish up our reports here. Police and traffic safety, Trustee Dalzell.
I have nothing for the meeting, but Chief?
Lieutenant Emick and Lieutenant Kukowski are here just kind of doing some cross-training and getting used to the board atmosphere.
Okay.
Tomorrow and Thursday, the entire department will be participating in our annual active shooter exercises. We want to thank District 126 for providing Prairie Junior High for this year's training. This is the first year we're going to be implementing FUSIS as part of that training. So we'll be having access to floor plans, cameras. We'll have the mobile command out there too, so guys could start to get a feel for that type of situation as well. We've been in contact with the Cook County Sheriff's Housing Assistance Resource Program, known as SHARP. They specialize in homelessness, and they've been coordinating with our crisis intervention officers to create a plan. They intend on deploying to our area over the next few weeks to meet with the people on the corners and things of that nature. So hopefully we can get them pointed in the right direction, or at least some temporary housing for the time being.
Very good. I'm glad we got it. I mean, I know the township used to try, but thanks, Chief, for doing that. That's great. Any questions for Chief? All right, thanks, Chief. Next, Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
That's me. I have a presentation of the June 2024 Public Works Department Monthly Activity Report. And next I have the request for authorization to go out to bid for the following projects. 2024 fiscal year 2025 crack sealing program and 2024 fiscal year 2025 street resurfacing program. And that's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you. Sewer and Water Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a presentation of the June 2024 Water Department Monthly Activity Report, and that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Building and Health, Trustee Parada.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a presentation of the June 2024 Health Department Monthly Activity Report. In that report, there were 18 complaints, 1 inspection, 17 citations, and most complaints were grass and weeds. Next, I have a presentation of the June 2024 Building Department Monthly Activity Report. In that report, there were 165 permits issued. That's 22 more for the same period last year. The amount collected, which includes inspector fees, was $59,734. The estimated cost of construction is valued at $3,380,697. And just a brief summary of permit type issued that gives everyone an idea of the improvements being made in our town. There were 12 permits issued for commercial remodel and or addition, 3 permits issued for dumpster enclosures, 20 permits which included for electrical permits. Residential re-roofing, there were 54 permits issued. Residential addition and or remodel and or alterations, there were 22 permits issued. And finally, for residential siding and or windows, there were 15 permits issued. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Roger, with all the storm remediation going on, any problems with the contractors? Are they all complying?
We've had a few that we've caught. There's definitely been an uptick with the hail damage, which obviously you can see is being up 22 from last year. But most of them are coming in, getting permits and doing the right thing.
Most are getting permits. Good. Okay. Thank you. Next, we have the Human Resource and Insurance, Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the approval to renew the pollution insurance. It is a 3-year term, and there is a copy of that from Horton in your packets.
All right, thank
you.
you.
That's all I have.
We'll go to the special committee reports. Economic development, I addressed everybody on that earlier. From the committee, anything else you want to add to that?
Nothing else?
No. Thank you. Village properties, Trustee McGlowhorn.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the June 2024 Heritage Monthly Activity Report, and I forgot to pull it up in front of me. However, one big point I want to make for everybody, at Heritage 1 at the end of June, there are 0 vacancies.
Wow.
Wow.
There are 4 units, 4 remodels currently in process, and those are the only unrented apartments at this time. And at Heritage 2, there are a grand total of 2 apartments available for rent. So out of 512 units, we got.
Roger, gotta be tough to get a parking spot over there after a while, huh?
Very true.
And recent major projects that were completed included the balconies and windows at Heritage 2.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go to ordinance legislation, Trustee Parada.
Nothing on my agenda this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Planning and Zoning Licenses Committee.
I have a presentation of a list of licenses dated June 13th, 2024 through July 12th of 2024. And that's all I have this evening, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Did anybody have any presentations, petitions, or communications they wanted to share? Any unfinished business? Any new business? And we need to adjourn to a short closed session. I will make it short because I know we kept everybody long tonight for 2 reasons. One, to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2, Chapter 1, and also to discuss the collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2, Chapter 2. Can I get a motion and a second to do such?
Motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
Roll call number 3 to adjourn to closed session. Trustee Dalzell?
Yes.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Navas Versa is absent. Trustee Peretta?
Yes.
Motion carries to adjourn to closed session.
Thank you. The time now is 9:35 p.m., and trustees, I'll try and make this brief and consider your time. Thank you for everyone joining us tonight.